So I'm coming from from Waldorf, Germany. So that's the place where I'm located at SAP in the UI department. My job role is to be the chief architect for the SAP UI technologies, especially these cloud technologies, be it SAP UI 5, be it also what we have with the web components, and some also with the fundamental styles now. So this is some place where I'm working on mainly, and I try to make out the most, combining the technologies to really see how we can bring them together and make out more of them. And this was also the idea of this session today, that we at the end really showcase how these frameworks play together, or these libraries play together in frameworks, and how we can use them in a framework-agnostic way for arbitrary UI technologies. Anything to add from your side, Dino?
I'm coming from a little bit different background, but pretty much sharing with what Peter is doing. Peter is more covering all the UI technologies, where I joined the Hybris acquisition, and we've had to walk the path through from having our own design system, varieties of frameworks, and how this can be fitting in the bigger picture of SAP, right? When you go talk to your users and customers, how to sell all the products, even though they come to different history, different experience, maybe different target users, still you want to upsell, other solutions. And thanks to Peter, actually, all the conversations, all the progress, always all the alignments, they happened. I hope for better. And the good thing is now, thanks to all this effort, to so many talented people within the company, we can show how the design and how the technology assets can be reused for something that was not created when we were developing those tools and those components and API. Right, Peter?
Yes, and that's the good point to get started. I think we are in time now. So Dino and I want to give you an overview about how our assets we develop can be used together in a way that you can use it with any of the web UI frameworks. For that, we play the role of two students which have a task, and this task is to implement a to-do application. I think many of us have done that, but it's quite challenging also to do that if you have nothing available, no library, no framework. So with that, we went somehow in decision mode because we need to make two choices.
You want to share?
Didn't I share? The sharing is, I thought I shared. So maybe, okay, that was my fault.
We have only very few slides, and if you skip them,
yeah.
gonna be only... No, I'm just joking.
So now I need to share. And let me...
Yes.
Is the sharing now on the main screen? Do you see the slide now?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start over again. So we are working students, and today we have one task together. We want to implement a to-do application, and everyone who has done that already means that this is quite some challenging work. And during that phase, when you get started, you have to do some decisions. And we, in our case, have to do two decisions. We have to choose on the one hand side a web UI framework. And there are a lot of these web UI frameworks available, some well-known, some maybe not so known or fresh ones. And with that, it's quite a choice at the end what we need to do, and it's tough to select the right one for our task. And on the other hand side, once if we decided to use a web UI framework, the other question for us is which design system to use. Something we know already, something we don't know, or something we have also or developed by our own. And it's a little bit hard to do one of the decision. And maybe, can you explain how this could be typically done when you are not aware of what to use where from?
Yes, thank you, Peter. Actually, this has been my favorite part of the task. picking something that you want to use it for the first time, something where you are like new, right? And you discover it, and you see it from different angle, and then like when you have to pick a framework or anything, you would search in internet and you would search for something trustworthy, right? And then for us, for the sake of this exercise, let's, for example, check on the State of JS website. They conduct annual survey amongst the developers, designers. What are the frameworks people are using? What are the frameworks they trust? What are the frameworks bringing their features? And then let's see what are the frameworks for 2021. As you can see, it's a quite good list. It's not one or two choices. This is a good and bad, right? I mean, when there are too many, you have to consider many considerations or constraints. But as we see, there are some frameworks been there for quite some time, and at the same time, new ones are popping up here.
And from this perspective here, right? This is more
do you think
showing
you should use this to pick a framework or something else, maybe?
Yeah, maybe because I want to always learn something new and to see what's happening there. It would be also good if we switch to the interest page, and then we see also it from a kind of a different perspective. What is the current interest of the young developers or the web development area, that which frameworks are quite interested and people want to learn. So, and we looked especially in these two blocks where new kids are, and there has been something really fresh over the last year, the Solid.js framework, which I think would be quite a nice learning for us. And it would be also a nice proof that this framework is maybe also worth to build, to do application quickly, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I remember a friend of mine, he's graduating next year. He said, it's a cool library to try. So maybe we should go for it, huh?
Okay, let's make the decision. Solid.js, we use that. So as we decided now for the web UI framework, what do we do with with our design system? Which one should we use, Dino?
Maybe, since we picked something new there as a technology, maybe how about also bringing some mature and some kind of a trustworthy, something that it's already recognized, like for example the SAP Fiori. What do you think?
Yeah, why not? I think that makes sense because also we know these assets and we know that we have already different solutions available for that. So yeah, finally we have made our choice. Now look a little bit in detail what this means. What frameworks can we use, or what libraries can we use, because the framework is Solid.js on the one hand side?
Well, especially when you start with a new framework, usually there are a lot of missing stuff. Maybe we can bring something that can jumpstart the development and the productivity. For example, fundamental library styles can bring you some layouting and some helping mixins, which is just SAS functions for crafting the look of the application. And what about, for example, interaction?
I think that's a great choice, having fundamental styles for the basic things on the layouting the page. And on the other hand side, if you come to more complicated controls, we have something with the UI5 web components available, which also brings then higher level components and containers with that. So looking into the cheat sheet of the fundamental library styles, maybe you give a short overview in that, because that's what we looked into, right?
Yeah, as you know, SAP in terms of business software provides a very complex, huge solution, right? And it's not always easy to start working with. But as opposed to that, what we are going to be using is, like in this case, fundamental library. It's an open source Apache 2 library, so it can be used anywhere. There is no dependency because it's just a presentation layer. It doesn't depend to any libraries, and it brings the Fiori design. So with this, you can use the helpers, the layouts, and the basic components to craft your application.
That's cool. And on the other hand side, we have the UI5 web components, and here we also have an Apache 2.0 license, which means you can use it freely. And also the components here, they are compliant with the SAP Fiori design. And they bring components, containers, and some other helpers, also in regards then to I18N and theming with it, which help us then to build also an application on this component set. I think with that we have said enough, and it's time to code, right?
Wow, it sounds easy. Do you think this is really easy?
Let's see. As we said, Solid.js, and heard already that many people made quick starts, we try it now. So first of all, if I get started with Solid.js, let's open the homepage of Solid.js. And here, when looking to get started, we just take the first steps from there. Let's create here the project for me. I take this one. So let's go in that one. And let's immediately start Visual Studio Code. What I want to now do first is to let this getting started thing run. So the first thing we typically do in these projects is that we run npm install, or in this case, they also allow us to run it with pnpm. I like this. It's efficient handling of the dependencies, a more efficient handling than npm does. And then when it's being installed, I know that they also wrote that I should call the def command. So when I do that, so everything is already done, and I'm somehow already in the mode that I can start to develop something. So now we see the Solid.js starter application, but I want to bring in a few things for my to-do application. When you, for the to-do application, what we want to have is we want to have an input field where we can enter a task, a due date field, and a button to edit. And this is what I would add now first. And for that, as these are quite some higher level components, I would use the UI5 web components. So let's install the UI5 web components, just do one thing. We call pnpm install at UI5/web components. And this is all I need to do to get the web components in. So if you want to go to the homepage for that, it's on SAP GitHub.io UI5 web components. And here you can also look into the Get Started documentation. It also explains in the first steps what you can do. And you also have access to these components. Later on, as we want to use the date picker, it explains what we need to do. So looking into this application a little bit more, which has been generated by pnpm, we see there is an index.html file. And this index.html file, this is having a reference to the index.jsx. So this means that the view description is being done with JSX. And here, when looking into that, for people who are already aware of Svelte and Vue and React, they may already know this kind of syntax and they are familiar with that. So let's go a little bit more into detail and go into this app.jsx, because here, this is the pure view logic, what we have seen. Instead of the default logic, which is being shown there, we want to have a section. That's the place where we add our web components. And I remove this part here. So to use then the web components, I imported already dependencies. And now I can also import the web component here into this application, for example, the date picker component. And once I have done that, I can use now the custom tag. So as explained here, this is the tag to be used then in the application. So, and just by doing this and starting the application, pnpm dev, moving it to the left, I now see a date picker component being displayed here. And this date picker component is already fully functional. It comes with a date picker which works, and you have date selection. It's also locale aware. And this is also the speciality of this UI5 web components, that they bring all these enterprise features you expect and also from developing SAP applications or Fiori applications out of the box. But besides that, we want to also add an input field. So let's take the input. You can also, if you want, check it out here and see how it's being used. And we want to add a button. So also here, this is a trivial one. Let's import the button. And now we say UI5 button. And for the button, we add a text. So having done that, I should see already my solid application now a little bit more inside. It has this input field where I can enter text, enter task, and I have the date picker and so on. For the input field, what we want to do is we want to have a placeholder here. This is also something I can check, enter the task here. And the date picker, we can also say the different format pattern for the date, which is, let's say, a bit more natural for my case here. And if I do that, it's immediately adopted here. You can also see the date format is being changed and the stuff is here. And the button, for the button, I would like to use the design emphasized to make it visible that this is the button to hit. And as a last thing, what I want to show to you is how this interaction can then also work. Because here, if we want to interact with the web components, it's also no proprietary API. We have the input here, let's say the input, and the tue, let's call it task and tue. And when I now have here a ref, that's how I would do that. I would assign that to these variables, the ref, the tue. And here I register on click event, on click. And this on click event, this should then call, we can also call a function here, alert something, do something. And here in this do something function, what I can do now is to read the values from and alert them. So also nothing special. So the task would be this one. And we access the value property from the task. And from the due date, we access also the value. So having done this, if I enter a task, and if I am not wrong, then I should get the alert. That's it. So this was the part of how web components could be easily integrated that. And with that, I would hand over to Deno to show now how we can use fundamental styles to make also this web components, which are styled in the components itself, but not for the page, make use of fundamental styles to style the paging and provide proper layouts around that. So share.
Okay, let's see how I can do that. So I'll be coding with you guys, with you. I mean, you're going to be looking. So it's kind of a pair programming. Let me know if you see my screen.
You made it better than I. Your screen is visible.
Well, because it's a smaller screen. So what can we use? In fundamental styles, I'll be trying to use two things. One is that, let's say, now Peter is maybe investigating how he's going to do the show bar, means how this can interact with the backend, what data is going to be collecting, the user stuff, theming, accessibility, theming and internationalization. Let's leave him to research it to see how easy it is with the web component. While this is happening, I can say, I'm going to just bring the show bar as is without any interaction. But I want to show it to my designer that, we're progressing with the layout. So here, as you see in fundamental styles, we have show bar examples. The good thing is similar to what Peter said, you can copy the piece of code, paste it in your application, import fundamental styles, and then you're going to have the show bar. The other thing that I also want to include quickly, it's the footer of the page. For example, maybe I want to complete all the tasks or delete all the tasks, so I can put it as a footer, and you can easily accomplish this. So for that, I'll be using bar as a component where this is more as a footer. So here I can even literally, let's take this, right? And I go to my coding. So here, before pasting it, I took Peter's code already. So what you see, it's the input, the date picker, and the button. And if I go in the browser, I think it's in the localhost 3000. See the three components. So let me come, and here I'm going to add another section wrapping everything as a root. Bring this guy as one group here, right? And then let's come and copy this guy. So I'm going to copy here this as a footer, right? So it's something like that. If I save, I didn't import anything. So if I go on the screen, I mean, you see some buttons, right? But nothing else, because there is no styling. We haven't imported fundamental stuff. Well, that's what we need to do, and I'm gonna help myself. Come here, do importing. I'm importing two packages: fundamental styles and the common CSS. Why common CSS? I'll tell you a little bit later. But let's run it. You shouldn't see anything different because we haven't imported anything, right? So what I can do, I can go and we use the bar and the button. So what I can do, I can go I build a little bit more, but let's go to the index CSS. So this is, we don't need this. I'm gonna, no, was it here? No, sorry. This is, we don't need. I'm gonna import it here. So I'm importing button and bar. Later, I would need this, the shell bar and the avatar. So let's do it in one shot. So if I save this, you're gonna see something's coming. I want to move the, okay. I'm fighting with Zoom and the people here. Okay. So as you see right away, the toolbar is coming. I can do something similar. I can come and take the shell bar, but instead of including it here, what I can do, I can say, okay, instead of putting everything together, I can create a shell bar GSX file, right? And inside, I already prepared the code just to speed up the whole thing, but I'll show you quickly. It's a solid.js component where I'm importing the SAP logo, the only thing, and then splitting properties for the title. So here, the rest, it's just a pure HTML. So if I save this, nothing would happen on the screen, right? Because we haven't used it. What I can do, I can go to the app and I say, I want to import shell bar and I want to use it shell bar here, right? So if I do this, you see, something is coming. I mean, it's not completely there, but something is visible. So the next step, what we would need to do, look, this is the little spacing, which comes usually as the browser presetting. What will come later in the in fundamental styles common CSS is the normalization of all these things. So for now, I'm going to just do it like that. As you see here, things are fine. Another part that I need a theming from the web component, right? There is a service that I can use to set the proper theming. So what I would do, I would go and I think I need to import additional package. So I'm gonna import the package, right? Then run this, and in the app.jx, I will import two functions, which will help me to set basically the right theme. And again, I will copy this code because I want to show more stuff here. So basically what is happening is I'm setting a theme to Horizon, and I'm importing additionally a delta theming specifically for Horizon. Delta theming that will help and make the UI look better. So as you see here, we imported Horizon kind of a thing, but Horizon I think doesn't have the dark. But anyway, let's focus now on the. I'll come to this a bit later, or maybe not. Let's see on the. Sorry. On the networking, if I trigger this, Horizon is coming. Okay, and something's not completely, but we can take a look later. So we have the show bar, we have the section. For the section that contains the 3 fields, what I want to do, I want to make it more looking like a Fiori component. For that, I will use the, it's a layout panel here from Fundamental, where it can wrap nicely the component. It creates this box shadow, the rounded corners, the borders, and everything. So it has a certain markup. So what I would do, I would use my cheat sheet and I'll copy, and I'll show to you guys later what I want to do. So here I will replace this section with a little bit more stuff. So there is a custom class that I created, but I didn't apply anything yet. And I have the FD layout panel that brings the styling from Fundamental Styles. If I go back to the browser, now this creates additional spacing around and position the elements like that. Next step, let's try to make these components a little bit more nice looking. So for that, we're gonna be using these classes. So I use the BEM methodology for naming. So to do is my block, and then I have elements inside the create wrapper, and I added some classes for the name, right? So what I will do, and I want to see how much time I have. Okay, pretty quickly. I will rename this guy to app module. No, delete it. And create app SCSS and import it into the our main file. We'll replace this guy, and I will do this. So now, as you see, it complains that I'm importing SCSS, but actually what I would need, I need to import SAS, right? As you know, now be using the Fundamental Styles. Well, no, the common CSS. So I'll import this thing. I will run it. And since we're running out of time, I'm going to be copying the whole thing of CSS and explain quickly what am I doing. So here I'm importing the common CSS mixin. So those mixins basically brings some useful CSS properties like SAP Flex, no SAP, like Flexbox, but also brings the theming part. For example, as you see, I want to put a margin small. There is 4 different margins that the SAP theme defined. Then there is also padding as well. I can add padding on the X and then apply the flexes. So if I come and refresh, as you see now, the component itself, it's more rendered well. So I'm not gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna git checkout and go to my final version for Peter. Checkout layout. changes. Let's see, check out layout. Okay, and then I do PNP and def and come back to the UI. And as you see now, the bottom footer, it's always on the bottom, no matter where I move. The rest is styled properly, and that's it. Peter, you want to take it from here and guide us to the latest?
Yeah. So I hope you can see my screen again.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the latest state. So we have a final tag in this repository, which we also have made available on public GitHub. You can also take a look later into that. So this is the final state of this application, what we see. In order to show you briefly how this looks like, I just start development server. And this is a real working to-do application. So there's a lot of things inside. And what we did also with this to-do application is we played a little bit more around with functionality. As I said, we have helpers from web components and from fundamentals in to make this really a little bit more ready for global usage. And we have a theme switch in. So there is default language, not theme switch, language switch in. So I can switch to Bulgarian. I can switch to French and to English and to German. And we have fully translated this application. So this is being done in a special I18N support module. You may also take a look then after the session because we have not so much time now. There is also a theme switch implemented for that, which is taking care that the whole application can be rethemed and in a way that it loads then the themes for UI5 web components and for the fundamental library styles together. The Delta theming is considered, that's what Deno mentioned. So we have a theme support module where we load the assets then from both from both libraries and bring it together and handle also this Delta theming part properly in the theme loaded event as Deno showed. And this is really then let's say a complete application we can use. It's functional. There is a dialog also inside where you can modify things and so take a look. It's also publicly deployed. We can also share the link in the chat a little bit later on the GitHub. And with that, we want to somehow wrap up the session. Overall, what we have seen here is that we have two libraries, both having a different purpose on the one hand side, the CSS library and the web components as a component library. But at the end, we have one goal. We transport the SAP Fiori design to different web UI frameworks in a framework-agnostic manner. And this is really a cool thing. How they play together. And as we have seen that, so both frameworks really build a perfect symbiosis, and we are working on to make this even better. And finally, I would say also that we are really here based on web standards. This is cool, and we stick to that premise here. We don't invent proprietary APIs too much. We are framework agnostic. Also, this is given, and it's for you free to use. Try it out, give feedback. And I think, Deno, with that, we are more or less done. If you can also scan quickly this QR code, you get then also directly to the GitHub repository. And there, as a last thing maybe, to also show that, it's the running one on GitHub now, on the GitHub pages, because we have also prepared one thing, the performance.
You think it's going to be good?
I hope.
What do you guys think? Let's take a look. But as you see, while he's showing this, we also style it for the mobile as well.
Cool. It worked. So performance 93, accessibility 100, best practice 100, CO 100. I think that's not bad for an application like that, right?
Wow, I think it's wonderful in the first try. But you know what you guys can take a look is like try something similar like you, get inspired, get your hands dirty. If you find issues or if you find ideas what we can do better, let us know. This is just like we wanted to show you how picking something modern, new, trendy can be still applied to a known and WoW design system. And thank you.